What is going on, Media Kingdom? So today I'm coming to y'all with another reaction. So today we're reacting to Alicia Andrews. Y'all probably wonder who the hell that is. So y'all know that song at the Foolio after Don Julio. Okay, that was inspired by Julio Foolio, right? Now he's a rapper, you guys, that is from Florida, that was unalived. And this girl right here that you see on the top left, her name is Alicia Andrews, and she was the setup girl, allegedly. She was the one who set up Julio Foolio to get popped in SoFlo. And unfortunately now is facing serious jail time. Now she was offered a plea and she decided to deny the plea and go to trial. So now she's on trial and we are going to be reacting today to day one of trial. So before I get started, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and follow me on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. Okay. So first we're gonna be reacting to the I'm Not a Lawyer, but she also has a YouTube channel as well, and she's extremely funny as fuck. I really want you guys to go over there and check her out because she is a key. Now, she explains the situation and gives us a little bit of a recap. And then afterwards, we're going to go and react to it in total. Okay. Now, Alicia has made controversy lately because she's been applying makeup in the courthouse, not really giving a fuck. So, yeah.
We got a new trial. So this is 21-year-old Alicia Andrews, and she could be sentenced to life in prison without parole if a Florida jury believes that she participated in taking the life of this 26-year-old man named Charles Jones. The trial has just started, so let me give you a recap of day one of Florida versus Alicia Andrews. So as I said, this is 21-year-old Alicia Andrews, and Florida prosecutors say that she, her boyfriend at the time, Isaiah Chance, and 3 other men traveled from Jacksonville, Florida to Tampa, Florida, with the goal of killing 26-year-old Charles Jones, aka Julio Foolio. And the motive, according to prosecutors, was a gang war that has been going on for years.
The evidence will show that these gangs have been at war for several years. And when I say war, the evidence will show you this is a war going on in the streets of Jacksonville.
Y'all remember Mob Wise when they used to be like, bitch, you want to go to war with me? Them bitches used to talk like they was real gang members, okay? You want to go to war with me? Maybe you don't want to go to war with me, okay? Like they was finna pull out a chopper or some shit.
Charles Jones belonged to and was affiliated with a group known as 6 Block.
Not Melrose Park. Oh my God. Y'all, let me not dox myself. If you know, you know.
He was a member of that organization. 2 other gangs in Jacksonville, ATK and 1200, were affiliated gangs. They despise 6 Block. And the level of hate between these groups is a mutual hatred.
According to prosecutors, Julio Foolio was not only a member of the gang 6 Block, but he was also the face of it, and he used his music and social media platform to disrespect ATK, and they say ATK did the same thing back to him in 6 Block.
He produced music videos where he would travel to the gravesides of these individuals or a graveside that was used in lieu of their graveside, and do things during the video like lay on their graves and sing around their graves and use sarcastic lyrics. And ATK and 1200 were no better. They did the same thing. You're going to see videos from members of that gang. One young man in particular, Kenyatta Bullard, known on the streets as Young and Ace. In the days after the murder of Charles Jones, he produced a song just within almost 48 hours and put it up, talking about the murder of Charles Jones, the specific facts of it.
So that's the backstory and what prosecutors say was the motive behind the death of Julio Foolio. So his death occurred in June of 2024. At the time, the war was still actively going on, and Julio Foolio was preparing to celebrate his 26th birthday. He posted some flyers on his Instagram account of where and how he was planning to celebrate his birthday.
My official birthday party, June 22nd at Club Teasers, and gives the address. So he is making it very well known where he's going to be, what address he's going to be at, and
which is so bold as a rapper to do. And I still to this day don't get why he did that. I feel like he was doing it as a tactic to be like, oh, I'm not scared. But it's like you could be not scared but still want to live. Cause niggas be plotting. So yeah, I don't know about that.
when he's going to be there.
According to the prosecutor, members of ATK, particularly some of the people on this picture, took note of Julio's post and then put together a plan to take his life. Prosecutors allege that the plan included Alicia Andrews looking for a place for the group to stay in Tampa, Florida.
Hey, could I book a B&B in Tampa? This is 2 days before the murder. Kiera asks Marie, hey, what's dates you need? Tomorrow, but what day do you have available? How many bedrooms? Like 2. A few moments later, a screenshot of an Airbnb.
All right, so this is enough for the recap, you guys. Now let's go to the full danger.
Entirely off guard, completely blindsided. Ever-present and ubiquitous cameras that permeate our culture. As Charles Jones sat there in the front passenger seat of his Dodge Charger, their plan came perfectly together. He was now the perfect target, caught completely, entirely off guard, completely blindsided. As these gunmen appeared, seemingly, you will see in this evidence, out of nowhere.
By the way they riddled his car with bullets was crazy work. Like, I'm talking about they riddled it with the bullets.
A perfectly planned ambush, and there's no other way to say it. The evidence will show you clearly this was an ambush, a designed ambush, one that they had carefully planned and now were orchestrating. Unable to run, unable to dive or even duck, basically caged in the front seat of his car. He was basically a sitting duck. And these killers, they didn't hesitate, not for 1 second and not for 1 moment. They moved rapidly into their pre-planned positions, into their firing locations. And then they immediately unleashed a hellish onslaught, affecting a precisely coordinated violence of action, sending a barrage, a wall of hot lead, crashing into the only barriers.
You gotta love attorneys. The wordplay that they use is always so, high level vocabulary to make the situation more of an intense description versus what happens. Like, you ask a person on the street, be like, the car got shot up. You ask a lawyer, oh, they use a massive amount of hot lead and permeated through the perimeter of the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, the descriptions are going to be 2 different things.
Between Charles Jones living and Charles Jones dying. Those barriers, the automotive glass, the sheet metal of the front of his Dodge Charger, which were absolutely no match for the high-powered 5.56 and 300 blackout caliber rifle rounds, which were now traveling at him, directed at him at thousands of feet per second, each one of them carrying over 1,200 foot-pounds of energy, directed specifically at Charles Jones. A Glock 9mm handgun was being utilized by one of these conspirators, a handgun that wasn't just a semi-automatic handgun. It had been converted to a fully automatic hand cannon. And now it was running wide open, dumping all 30 rounds of its magazine through the front end and the windshield of that Dodge Charger. All of that gunfire filling the dark early morning hours with booming concussions and bright flashing muzzle flashes as these high-pressured and high-powered rounds flooded the atmosphere in front of that Dodge Charger. Charles Jones. You've heard his name in the indictment. That's his face.
Jesus. It's like the way that they did it was like Call of Duty style. Like it's kind of sickening. Like that was like an execution. Oh, they got all angles.
Just a few seconds of the mountain of evidence that you will see in this case of what happened that night. Evidence that will show you clearly that these co-conspirators hatched this murderous plot, not minutes, not hours, but days before this, formulating in their hearts and minds this agreed upon, collective, and confederated plan with one common agreed upon goal: death, violence, and murder. A conspiracy motivated and hatched days before, hundreds of miles away from Tampa. A conspiracy that would span through those days and over 500 miles of travel.
I remember when I went to high school, there was this gang. I ain't gonna say the name because I don't know if it was real or not, child. And I don't want no issues. Okay, I'm just the internet guy. But I was like, I wonder where they are. I know one of them ended up like setting up, like a friend, not setting up, but ended up unaliving like a friend of his that was supposed to be in this so said gang. So like, I wonder where some of them are now. I remember I ran into one of them like a couple years back, right? No, like a year or two back when I was going to the barbershop. And he's like, oh, such and such. He was like, oh, I see you on TV because I was on that commercial. I'm like, bitch, you don't know me. I don't want y'all to think I'm rich and got money, Chad. I ain't got no money. Okay. Thank ya.
Observations were made, uniforms, disguises obtained and selected, gear was obtained, weapons selected, weapons loaded, and weapons modified and made ready. Transportation was obtained, vehicles with specific purposes, and a plot that required advanced planning and logistics to include housing, communications, and transport would materialize and become reality. A criminal, murderous operation. These co-conspirators leaving their homes in the northeast corner of this state, traveling here, traveling to their target. Conspiring to murder Charles Jones, not in his home, not in Jacksonville, not on his home territory, not at his residence, but here in Tampa, while he was on a birthday trip, while his guard was down. And you will see in this evidence the clock-like precision of these co-conspirators, how they worked together as a team in this team effort. Simply encourage them to, assist them, or advise other persons to actually commit that crime. Now, incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person to actually commit the crime. For first-degree premeditated murder, we must prove that this defendant intended that Charles. For first-degree premeditated murder, we must prove that this defendant intended that Charles Jones be killed. It is not necessary for the principal to know every detail of how a first-degree murder will be committed, as long as they intend that it occur. And they did some act or said something that was intended to help or did help the murder to occur. But almost more importantly, the principle that they committed, as long as they intend that it occur. And they did some act or said something that was intended to help or did help the murder to occur. But almost more importantly, the principle that defendant does not have to be present when the crime is committed or attempted to be committed. But in this case, folks, you will hear that this defendant, Alicia Andrews, was right there, driving right.
No lie, she should have took the plea deal. I'm sorry. I feel like that was very not intelligent of her to do. Like that wasn't smart, because it's like they have the evidence against you piled up that you were helping them plot to unalive him. Not even that. I believe one of the dudes that she's dealing with was like in the rival gang. So it's like there's so many things against you. You might want to take that plea and just bite the bullet because now you might get life. And you're in Florida, babe. You know they want to get rid of our kind. You get what I'm saying? So it's like it would have been smart for her to go with that plea. I'm sorry. Like you wouldn't have gotten life. You would have served them years. It was a good amount of years. I forgot how much it was, but it was a good amount of years. But you wouldn't have got life. You would have still got up out of there at least once in a blue moon. And they could have, tried to change your life.
Right next to that Dodge Charger in the seconds before this murder happened. If the defendant is found by you to be a principal, then she is legally responsible and accountable for everything that her co-conspirators or co-defendants did. Alicia Andrews, these are her co-conspirators. I don't know if this laser is going to work. If you can see in the upper left-hand corner, that's Rashad Murphy. Lower left, Davion Murphy. Sean Gaithright is in the upper right. And in the lower right is her boyfriend at the time, Isaiah Chance. These were the 5 conspirators. This was the assault team that took out Charles Jones, that took his life, that snatched it from him in the early morning hours of June 23rd. Isaiah Chance, Sean Gaithright, Rashad Murphy, Davion Murphy. To understand the murderous intent that existed amongst them, and to understand this conspiracy that dwelled in all of their minds and hearts, we have to go back and look at the lives and associations of Charles Jones and these defendants. What did Charles Jones do to these defendants that was so bad that would cause them to confederate, to conspire, engage in this coordinated planned attack? Charles Jones belonged to and was affiliated with a group known as 6 Block. He was a member of that organization. It exists in Jacksonville. It's known as 6 Block, and it is a street gang. It consists of several members. 2 other gangs in Jacksonville, ATK and 1200, were affiliated gangs. They despise 6 Block. They detest them. They abhor them. And the level of hate between these groups is a mutual hatred. The evidence will show that these gangs have been at war for several years. And when I say war, the evidence will show you this is a war going on in the streets of Jacksonville. The hatred and the dripping animosity of these defendants towards Charles Jones, it ran deep. And the evidence will show you that. In fact, you will hear that in October of 2023, just 9 months before this, before the murder of Charles Jones, he had left his residence in Jacksonville in that same black Charger about 6 o'clock in the morning. He came to a stop sign in his neighborhood, just a few blocks from his house, when a shooter with a high-powered rifle opened fire on his car, striking his car several times and striking him in his lower leg, spraying bullets all over that neighborhood. Mr. Jones at that time was able to drive himself to a local hospital, receive treatment, and be released. That bullet or fragment of bullet remained in his leg until it was removed by the medical examiner who conducted the autopsy on his body here in Tampa after his murder. Earlier,
that's sad. He died with a bullet inside of him. That's crazy.
A morning, a member of ATK, a man by the name of Tilly, was shot and killed at a high school football game. This shooting of Charles Jones was clearly a retaliation, but Charles Jones was not the shooter of Tilly. But that didn't matter. So why was he targeted? You won't hear any evidence to suggest that he had anything to do with that shooting. He was affiliated with 6 Block. And you're going to hear in the evidence that he wasn't just a member of 6 Block, he was a notorious member of 6 Block, probably the most well-known member of that gang. In fact, he was the public face of 6 Block, the spokesperson, basically. He posted on social media, but most notoriously and notably, He wasn't just a spokesperson for 6 Block. He was a certified celebrity. Charles Jones had millions of followers on social media, if not tens of millions of followers, because he engaged in an activity that you heard a little bit about yesterday from one of your fellow jurors, and he was spot on. That's exactly what the evidence is going to show you in this case. This long-standing pattern of what is called drill rep.
You ever heard
And
that term, actor Foolio off that Don Julio? Well, that was him. What if he said, bitch, I would scream. Okay. One thing about it though, like there's certain states, once you make it to a certain level, you got to get the fuck. I'm telling you, God forbid I make it, not God forbid, but God willing, I make it. Okay. I'm gonna get the fuck. I'm sorry. It's just like there's just certain states. It's like you have so much people that are so envious. They don't want to see you get even an inch of credit. They don't want you to get even an inch of fame. You got to get the fuck. Had Julio Foolio left that state before that unaliving, he would still be here to this day. I can guarantee you that. There's just certain states you got to get the fuck when you make it. It just is what it is. Like we've heard many rappers, many celebrities say this. Like they don't go back to their home city where they're from because that's where you end up dying. Literally.
Is an activity that Charles Jones embraced and that he engaged in under the name Julio Foolio, which was in fact his street name, Foolio. Julio Foolio. In this type of rap music, it's not just rap, it's disrespect. It's making fun of and disparaging not only ATK and 1200, the opposing gangs, but disparaging their members by name. Disparaging, and probably most incendiary you will find in the evidence, bragging about the death or deaths of other ATK 1200 members who have been. As I said earlier, make no doubt about it, this is a gang war. Mr. Jones, you will see in the evidence, not only produced this music, he produced music videos. Videos where he would travel to the gravesides of these individuals or a graveside that was used in lieu of their graveside and do things during the video like lay on their graves and sing around their graves and use sarcastic lyrics in his songs, pour champagne on their graves, rubbing it in the faces of ATK and 1200. And ATK and 1200 were no better. They did the same thing. You're going to see videos from members of that gang. One young man in particular, Kenyatta Bullard.
People don't realize how like being a lawyer is kind of dangerous too. Cause like you talking shit about gangs and stuff like, girl, I don't want none of them issues, baby. You got that. Like, no. You feel me? Because it's like, what if like, because you got to understand, like, it's not like they arrested all of each rival gangs. So it's like, imagine if one of them feel offended that they're being spoken about in a negative way and they try to get the lawyer. Like, you never know. Like, so it's a dangerous occupation. I'm just saying.
Known on the streets as Young and Ace, who produced not only songs about 6 Block members who had been murdered, in the days after the murder of Charles Jones, he produced a song just within almost 48 hours and put it up, talking about the murder of Charles Jones, the specific facts of it. This created in those 5 individuals, in their minds and in their hearts, a vendetta. This was revenge. Because he ridiculed them and he ridiculed their gang, which was their family. He ridiculed their friends, which were their family members. They were close, deep running bonds of loyalty in this organization. Because they have each other and they defend each other. They defend not only each other, but they defend each other's honors and they defend their affiliations. This is the murder scene. Let me see if this will work. Home to Sweets, McKinley, Fowler, USF is directly across the street. The USF campus lays literally feet away from this hotel complex. Over here, you can see it's a Holiday Inn. This is the portico right here where the shooting happens. What you will see in this evidence is that these shooters arrive here and they come in and they go around the north side of that complex as Mr. Jones is sitting here at the portico with two other cars full of his friends and party goers, people celebrating. His girlfriend was in the other car. He was a passenger. His friend Xavier Edwards was driving. His longtime friend Gino Norris was in the back seat. They pull in. The shooters come in this way. They go around. They come down here, and they park in this area here. And then they act on foot. And they come around here, surprising Mr. Jones. You saw Mr. Jones' car try to evade the shooting and go this direction. He goes straight up here. There is no road here, but they make a road in their desperate efforts to get away. They go right past this dumpster, and the Charger ends up here.
Mm. This who is the one that's being accused of the setup. On the far right is Alicia, which, by the way, like, let's say if she doesn't get acquitted and is proven not guilty, she can stay in Florida. Like, she literally cannot stay in Florida because her life would be in danger. So she would have to leave. Staying would be blatantly stupid. Because one thing about them gangs, they're gonna get their lick back. So you would be considered a lick to get back if she's ever freed.
This is Mr. Jones arriving. He's been out celebrating. You'll find in the evidence. That is Mr. Jones with that open passenger door. The vapor you're seeing is coming out of the hotel. That's some type of a dryer vent. Mr. Jones in the red stocking cap, pulling up his shorts. He walks in the hotel. As you can see on the timestamp, which is slightly off by a few minutes, this is about 4:30 in the morning. They had been out through the night. They had gone to a couple of clubs. Mr. Jones appeared at one club and performed, and then he went to an after party at another club. He had attempted to make a reservation here, but because they appeared so late, it had been given away. You'll see him come back and get into his car. Video slightly sped up here.
Oh my God. It's the anticipation for me.
That car entering right there, that's the assault team. And as I said, they go northbound around the north side. They avoid.
My whole thing is, why was he sitting there like a sitting duck for so long? Like, you know what I'm saying? I watch ID channel so much, y'all. So it's like, why was he sitting there? Like, why didn't he just go? You feel me? Like, him sitting there literally kind of cost him his life. Because if they found out that they couldn't get reservations that late, bitch, you're a public figure. Go, start driving. You know what I'm saying? That's so eerie how they drove right behind him, though. Like, oh my God.
Near this entourage, Mr. Jones and his friends. This Nissan Altima that's pulling up is part of the entourage that was with Mr. Jones. The driver, Tafa McCrae, is a friend of his. You will see his girlfriend get out. And they go inside of the lobby to use the restroom. So Tafa and his girlfriend, Aaliyah Albritton, they walk in to the lobby, and they're actually inside there in the bathroom when the shooting happens. Now, you probably didn't see it, but when Tafa got out of the driver's seat of that Nissan Altima, Camilla Bentley slid right in behind him. That's another friend of Mr. Jones and friends with these folks. She's sitting in that car at the time of the shooting. She takes her round through the arm. This car driving by, that is the spotter car. That is the surveillance and reconnaissance vehicle. This is just before the shooting happens. And you're going to see that car come right back by.
So it's given Alicia was in that car, so she was the looker outer for it. That's what I'm guessing. I might be wrong, but
It goes down, does a 3-point U-turn, and comes back. And now we're mere seconds away from the attack on the Charger, on the attack on Mr. Jones. You'll see the Chevy Cruze go southbound on McKinley. Down to the lower left, you saw the shooter with the automatic Glock.
damn, that was fast.
That's him in the lower part of the photo. So you see in this video, Xavier Edwards desperately trying to get them out of harm's way. But what he didn't know was that up on the top of that screen between that, I think it's a Mercedes and that yellow car, was the third shooter. So what he ended up doing was driving
Right into the shooters.
and you'll see it come to fruition here, directly into a
That's
vortex.
what in video games. I gotta understand. Like, here's the thing. I agree with kids gaming and like, you know, having some sort of distraction to interact with kids and stuff online. But like when it comes to like the heavy artillery type of games, I feel like it's a little bit of a problem because it's like this is how you learn to do stuff like this. Real shit. If you play Call of Duty, it's so much of those games. It's something called Man of Duty, all this type of games, right? This is how you learn how to set up these things. So that way you can kill the opponent. Dead ass. So I don't know. That's a huge debate to me that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough. Is those games, those machine shooting games. Yeah. I hate to sound like a square, but it's the truth.
Of high-powered rifle fire. Now, what you're also going to find in the evidence, and you can see the electrical charging station up here in the upper right, this is the edge of a Tesla that's sitting at another charger. That Tesla has its, I believe it's called Centurion function on, and it is recording from multiple cameras around the car. And this is one of the recordings. You'll see several in the evidence that picks up the third shooter running down behind that row of cars and taking up position by that yellow car. He is the shooter on the other side of the street that forms that deadly vortex of fire as the Charger goes by. And as the Charger, you will see in the evidence, runs down the side trying to escape down the side of the hotel, this shooter comes running up to this position by the charging station and is opening up fire down the west side facing north of the home to suites.
The way they executed to unalive him, they kind of thought that shit out very perfectly. As sad as it is, but they really did. Because who would have ever thought to have somebody on the other side far away to still be shooting at the car? Like, you get what I'm saying? And first of all, too, it's low-key risky that the way they did it too, because they could have easily shot each other. The way them rounds was going, one of them could have got killed.
They're all impact. The third shooter. That's the Charger at the
Let me
impound
go back,
lot.
child.
That is the headlights of the Charger fleeing up the west side of the hotel, heading north. The third shooter. That's the Charger at the impound lot at the Tampa Police Department. You can see the impacts. Every one of those yellow stickers on the hood, the side, and the windshield are all impacts. That's the Altima that Camilla Bentley was sitting in. It took 2 rounds to the back window. This is Xavier Edwards, who was the driver of the Charger. That's him at the hospital. Gino Norris, Mr. Jones' friend.
And you know what's the thing about Alicia? This whole trial, this girl don't give a fuck. Like, I'm telling y'all, like, you would have thought she had nothing to do with it. I'm like, damn, girl, like, at least try to play it off like you have a little bit of sympathy. Like, she don't give a fuck. That girl don't care for nothing, girl. I'm like, damn. Like, it's really like heartless people walking around that just don't care at all. Mm.
It was in the back seat. He was shot in the upper right arm. And Camilla Bentley, who was shot in the upper arm. These were the other party goers. Armani Turner is Mr. Jones' girlfriend at the time. Miss Randolph, her friend. Robert Howard is an associate friend of Mr. Jones, who was in the car behind the Charger, which was a Hyundai. Tafa McCrae and Aaliyah were the ones in the Altima. You could see in that video that these gunmen acted with suddenness, they acted with speed and fury, and they brought overwhelming firepower. Not one shooter, not 2 shooters, but 3 to create that vortex that the evidence proves to you, with high-powered AR-style rifles and a fully automatic Glock 19, bringing all of that firepower to bear in a concentrated area easily and rapidly, establishing not fire superiority, but fire supremacy, the evidence will show. Firing, as you saw in that last photo from the Tesla video, with absolute impunity and disregard of anyone that may be in that area. The majority of that fire you will find in this case was funneled directly into the passenger compartment of the Dodge Charger. And every single one of the rounds that were fired that night, every single one of them was dripping with the hatred, the malice, and the premeditated intent of all 5 of those conspirators. The evidence will prove to you.
He's a good, that's a good prosecutor right there. He is honing it home. Like, the thing is, what makes a good prosecutor, you have to make the situation sound so extreme. It is an extreme situation because it was damn near an assassination. But the verbiage that you use is so important to drive the point home. You can't make anything light. The lightest thing you got to make it seem extreme. Okay? From the way that the person talked, walked, heard.
Mr. Jones attempted to evade the gunfire. He was leaning up against the dashboard. You may have seen in that photo, on those videos, but you'll see it during the trial. Look for it. His feet are up on the dashboard. He's leaning back. He's on his phone. The evidence will show trying to find a hotel, trying to find lodging for them. He barely has time to pull his feet down. The evidence will show he attempted to jump into the back seat, to go through and across the center console. Before he could do that, one of these rounds smashed into his chest. And that round tore through his heart, through his lungs, and through the largest vein in the body, the aorta, a gigantic artery that supplies blood up and down your body. And when he turned and kind of flipped over to try to crawl into the back seat, he took 2 more rounds to his back. Those rounds ripping through not only the muscles of his back, but into his liver. These shooters, as you've just seen, leveraged surprise. They leveraged it in this attack to make sure that Mr. Jones didn't stand a chance, to make sure he couldn't evade this attack. Not this time. This time he was going to be killed. They took full advantage of this ambush that they had planned. And you saw in that evidence the determination of these shooters, the assault team in this conspiracy. They didn't stop firing when the Charger went through that vortex. They kept firing all the way up the side of the hotel as the Dodge Charger fled, almost a block away. That last shooter you saw in the Tesla video, opening up fire, rapid fire. And as I said, firing with impunity. This was a perfect ambush spot because Mr. Jones' car was stuck. He couldn't go backwards because his girlfriend's Hyundai was behind him. To the left was a parked car next to the beams of the portico.
Right.
On the other side was the hotel. A hotel. And on the other side of the wall in the glass of that hotel was high density humanity. That didn't stop these killers. That didn't give them any pause for
My
concern.
whole thing
You're going to
is,
see in the evidence.
like, I'm the type of person, I'm so paranoid. I would be thinking my friends are in on it. Cause why the fuck you park behind me? Like, it's just like, I don't know. I'm not saying they had nothing to do with it. So please don't run with that narrative. But in my mind, I would be paranoid if I were somebody who survived something like this, because it's like the irony of the fact that I couldn't get the fuck out of where I'm stuck at is crazy. Y'all get what I'm saying?
Impacts around that portico, numerous windows that are blown out in the front of that hotel. And not only in the lobby and in the front of the hotel, up and down the west side of that hotel, impacts through windows that coursed through hotel rooms where people were sleeping, families. That hotel was packed with people, parents there with their student children that were there for orientation at USF. People were there with their small children here in Tampa sightseeing.
At 4 a.m.
This overwhelming firepower and violence of action had an effect of confusion. Now, it wasn't confusing to the killers because they slipped away into the darkness. They were gone almost immediately. But it had that effect on the victims. Gino and Xavier. When that Charger finally comes to a halt, bullet riddled, they realize that Charles Jones is gone. And they also realize that they both have been impacted. They have both suffered gunshot wounds. They flee out of that Charger and they flee immediately to the west into the Holiday Inn because now they don't know where these killers are. They don't know if they're there or not. So they flee and they run into the hotel. And you're going to see in the evidence, their flight leaves a thick blood trail and a very obvious blood trail. They run in, they get on an elevator, they go to the 3rd floor. When law enforcement respond, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that, the confusion was caused. They go to the area where the Charger is. They see the blood trail. They don't know if that's victims. They don't know if that's shooters. They go into the hotel thinking that they're going to be coming face to face with shooters. They go up the elevator and they go onto the 3rd floor and they find Mr. Edwards and Mr. Norris laying on the ground, bleeding. Camilla Bentley, you saw in the panic between her car or the car she was driving, the Altima, and Miss Turner's Hyundai. One's backing up and one's going forward and they collide going out onto McKinley. Camilla Bentley drives off, but then she turns around shortly thereafter and comes back and picks up Peifa and Aaliyah, who are inside of the hotel lobby. They then drive nearby to Advent Health, where Camilla is treated for her gunshot wound. Meanwhile, Armani Turner, the victim's girlfriend in the Hyundai, she ends up somehow on Fowler going eastbound and comes across a traffic stop.
My whole thing is one of the friends turning around and getting them, like, that's crazy how they turned around and got them, knowing that the shooters could have still been there. Y'all get what I'm saying? Like, you never know. Like, maybe you go back and then you end up getting unalive too because you went back. So that's bold of them to do. But once again, my paranoia would seep in. Like, how do you feel so comfortable going back to the scene? You get what I'm saying? Like, my paranoia would start seeping in. If I survived and I was in that car with Julio, my paranoia would be seeping in. I ain't gonna lie to you. Everybody would be a suspect to me.
Stop being conducted by the University of South Florida Police Department, just a traffic stop. She pulls up and her and Mr. Howard get out and they make contact with the police, who are having a hard time understanding them because they were so frantic and so upset. So they follow them. They try to follow them. They actually lose sight of them because she's traveling so fast. Meanwhile, Tampa Police Department are responding to multiple 911 calls of shooting at the hotel. An officer responding sees Miss Turner driving. She drives through the intersection of Fowler and McKinley, goes right over the landscaping and into the parking lot. He follows her, not knowing who she is or what her part of this is. And they end up making contact with her. Officers end up driving down to the south end because it's brought to their attention that there are impacts in broken glass all over the south end of the home to suites where the shooting actually happened or began. And the first officer who gets there comes into the scene and he notices all of these 9mm pistol casings laying in the scene. And he's looking at the impacts and he's already seen the charger. And he's wondering, where are the rifle casings? Where are they? Well, you're going to hear in this evidence there were no rifle casings, even though 2 rifles were firing it at a high cyclical rate in this attack. They weren't there because these conspirators modified their rifles. They put what are called brass catchers on the rifles to catch the brass, the shell casings being ejected from these AR-style rifles. They modified them, just like they modified that Glock pistol and made it fully automatic. That was confusing. That was beguiling the law enforcement, at least in the beginning, until they started obtaining the video that you've just seen.
That's crazy.
So how does this conspiracy unfold? How does all of this start? It starts with Charles Jones, Julio Foolio. You see his name on the top of this post on IG, putting out on his IG account this advertisement for June 22nd, which was a Saturday. The murders happened in the early morning hours of the 23rd, going into Sunday morning. And you see Mr. Jones in the middle advertising he's going to be appearing, Julio Foolio, at Teasers on North Nebraska in Tampa, hosted by Kenny K. And he puts at the bottom, my Airbnb pool party, June 21st. That's when he arrived here. He and party goers arrived here that Friday. They had rented an Airbnb in Holiday in Pasco County. And they ended up on Saturday night leaving the Airbnb because he had started sending out, telling people, send me messages and I'll message you back with the address. And so many people appeared that eventually the owner of the Airbnb pulled the plug and told them to get out. But you see down here at the bottom, my official birthday party, June 22nd at Club Teasers, and gives the address. So he is making it very well known when he puts this promotion out, where he's going to be, what address he's going to be at, and when he's going to be there. This is another flyer that he put up. 8 p.m. to 3 a.m., June 22nd at Teasers. He even puts a photograph here of Tampa. My Airbnb pool party. DM me for address. And my official birthday party at Club Teasers gives the address again. So he's advertising his whereabouts. He's advertising his whereabouts. Now, Miss Andrews, the defendant, sitting right over here at counsel's table, this is a message that she sends, and you see on the top there, oh, that's red. That is her Instagram account. You will find that. You can see on the top right, her registered email to that account, verified Alicia Andrews 72 at yahoo.com. She sends that this message on June 21st. That's Friday at 10:52 UTC. That's early morning, the 22nd, or earlier that day. Sorry. UTC, if you're not aware of that, is Universal Time Code. It's Greenwich Mean Time. So you got back up 4 hours. So she's sending that on the Friday night. Hey, could I book a B&B in Tampa? This is 2 days before the murder. To a Kiera Axe Marie. Hey, what's dates you need? Tomorrow, but what day do you have available? How many bedrooms? Like 2. Logistics. This is the beginning. She's trying to find lodging. Trying to find lodging for this operation. Now, a few moments later, a screenshot of an Airbnb message is documented. The message is addressed to Rashad Murphy, confirms his reservation at Lagoon Oasis 9703 Gazebo Pond in Tampa, June 22nd to June 24. And in the message of that message there from the owner of the Airbnb, our HOA requires for security purposes that all guests booking with us provide a valid ID, which he obliges and sends his valid ID. Now we go to the 22nd. This is
Child, she's smirking about it. Let's say that girl don't give a fuck. That girl do not care, y'all. Because I'm telling you, if she cared, she wouldn't have taken it to trial. She would not have taken it to trial. I have yet seen, like, because like I said, I love to watch ID channel. Like a murder trial get taken to, like a murder suspect, because she didn't do the unaliving, but she was an accomplice, be taken to trial and then be get a not guilty verdict. Like they always get a guilty verdict and they always end up regretting it, not taking that plea.
Saturday, earlier in the day, before Julio Foolio is going to start appearing at clubs in Tampa. This is the residence of Sean Gaithright, one of the conspirators. That is Mr. Gaithright walking out with a large duffel bag, and Isaiah Chance walking out with bags. And you'll see they start loading that black car, which is a Chevy Impala. That is the car that goes north in the hotel complex. That is the car transporting the assault team. And they load the bags into the trunk. That BMW on the top of the video there is being driven by Mr. Chance. And you see him bringing out another large bag. They're kitting up and they're getting their gear into their transports. You'll see in the evidence that Mr. Chance ends up leaving in that Beamer. He drives and picks up his girlfriend, this defendant, Alicia Andrews, and brings her back to this residence. And then the three of them, Miss Andrews, Mr. Chance, and Mr. Gaithright, get into that Impala, and they drive here to Tampa, and they drive to the Airbnb. And there will be zero doubt about all of that, because that Impala, while it's en route, is being picked up on license plate readers. You will see in the evidence their cell phones are tracking, hitting cell towers as they travel in unison all the way down to I-75, coming across from Jacksonville and heading directly into Tampa. When he comes back, Mr. Chance brings his contribution to the assault team. The Glock pistol with the extended magazine. He tucks it into his waistband. You can see the extended magazine sticking out in the trigger guard and the slide and the dust cover of the pistol. Just a more close-up photo of it. And you can see it bulging out of the right side of his warm-up pants he's wearing. So these three, Chance, Gaithright, and
they could have. Let me shut up. Let me shut up. So I never did no crime, but I'm just saying, like, once again, I watch a lot of ID channel, and I just feel like they could have found a way to turn up the home security camera before doing something like that. Like, especially if you're gonna take the weapon out in daylight, could have did it in the car. Like, I can't.
The defendant get in that Impala, and they drive. You'll find in the evidence that Gaithright in the middle and Chance, the defendant's boyfriend, are very tight. They were close friends. Mr. Chance calls Mr. Gaithright his little brother. And you'll see in the video when they are loading up, you'll see more video during this trial of Mr. Chance putting in the codes on the front door of the house that Mr. Gaithright lives at. Now, the second car, the one that I pointed out to you, the surveillance vehicle, this is a Chevy Cruze. This car is also picked up on license plate readers after law enforcement determined its involvement in this case. They go back and they find it. And if you can see in the lower left-hand corner, 7:46 p.m., June 22nd, it's on Bruce B. Downs at Tampa Palms, getting real close to where their Airbnb is. And by the way, the Airbnb they book is 1.3 miles from the murder scene. You will see in the evidence that the LPR, the license plate recognition systems that are picking up these two vehicles, show them traveling in unison, hitting on the same license plate readers at the same time, at the same locations as they travel from Jacksonville. That car was obtained by Rashad Murphy outside of the circle of ATK 1200. It was specifically located and utilized in this case as a car that would not be recognized. Now, this is the LPRs for that car, the Chevy Cruze. You can see it hitting where it hits Dolphin Drive. That's the day before in Jacksonville. On the 22nd at 6:01, Highway 441. At 18:09, Highway 326, it's traveling through Gainesville. And then at 1947, 7:47 p.m., Bruce B. Downs, Tampa Palm Road. Temple Palms Road, excuse me, and then at 0342 Hillsborough. And then we get into the surveillance and the time before the murder. The ones at the bottom are the return. That's when they're returning to Jacksonville. This is showing you in these license plate readers, the Cruise on the top and the Impala on the bottom, hitting simultaneously on the same dates, 1809, 1809, 1947, 1945, 0341, 0342 at the same exact locations. These cars are traveling in unison because they are part of a team. This is the Airbnb that they stayed at on the night of the 22nd, going into the morning of the 23rd. They didn't stay at a hotel that has a lobby with security cameras. They stayed at an Airbnb with one single Ring camera. Now, that's the front door on the right, or on the left, excuse me.
Let's head down to Florida for an update in the case against Alicia Andrews for the murder of up-and-coming.
And you were in your vehicle at that time.
Okay, so that was a part of day 1, you guys. We're going to be reacting to day 2 and more tomorrow, so please stay tuned for that video, you guys. This was a requested video, plus I also was interested in hearing some of the evidence against her, you guys. Once again, she was given a plea and she did turn it down, so we'll see at the end if she does end up regretting this. We're gonna have to speed through the days, you guys, because we're kind of backed up. I think they're on like day 4 or 5 or something like that, so it's like we're a little bit late, but y'all know I'll be covering a whole lot of other stuff, so there's that. Anyways, y'all, let me know what y'all think down below. Should she have taken a plea? Let me know down below. Do you guys think the smartest thing would have been her taking the plea? Let me know what y'all think down below, and we out, y'all.